Main Street. This is part 2 of Even I Was Before. On my first morning in Palm Knot, Dad asks me to awake at 8 o'clock. I squint my open eyes because the sun is blazing through my window. I hear loud humming, which I think is in my head for a minute, before I realize it's just the buzz of insects down in the marsh. Time to get up, Dad says. Mom made breakfast, and then we're off to the hardware store. Why do I have to go? I groan. Because I need your help, Dad says. Another lie. As if going on a quest to the hardware store will somehow make me feel any better. But I get up and get dressed because it takes less effort than fighting with him. Mom ends up coming too so she can make sure Dad and I get the heavy-duty cleaning stuff and humane kind of mousetraps. Grandpa Ike's truck is already gone from the driveway by the time we leave. As we chase back up the gravel road, Mom points to each house that tells us who lives there. My new neighbors are the Bondurants, who are now actually just the Bondurant. Mr. Bondurant lives alone in a rusty trailer next to the house he used to live in with Mrs. Bondurant, whom my mom says left him for his own brother. The Millsaps, whose house is painted purple and green. They have 2 little kids and keep goats and chickens in their backyard. This morning, Mrs. Millsap brought Mom canned peach preserves and a basket of fresh tomatoes from her garden. The Pryors, who I haven't seen yet because they go to Cape Cod from April to September. An old rotted house, the biggest of any on the road, that used to belong to my family, called the Blackwoods, but is now empty, unless there are ghosts who live there, which seems likely. Palm Knot isn't the kind of town tourists flock to for a vacation. It would be more accurate to call it a pit stop than a town, a strip of shops, and a stretch of cracked station highway built in the crook of a bay. The old Texaco station, halfway between the Savannah and Jacksonville, Mom says as we cross over the inlet bridge. That's what the tourists call Palm Knot. The bay sprawls out to our right. Almost all the buildings are clustered on the other side of the road. It's on the left, Dave, says Mom, pointing to the first brick building we pass with a sign in front that reads Mac's Hardware Store. But Dad has already driven past it, and we have to turn around in the parking lot of the Pink Palm Motel. On the far side of the motel, there's a restaurant called the Beachy Keen Fish House. Nearer to us, next to the parking lot, is a bean-shaped pool. Even though it's only the beginning of April, when kids in Boston are just hanging up their snow coats for spring, steam rises off the turquoise water. The pool is already crowded with kids who all seem to know each other, judging by how they splash and roughhouse together. I love swimming and diving especially. But this pool is nothing like the one Casey and I used to go to in Boston, the only one nearby that still had a high dive board. Mr. Ernie always lets the local kids swim, since he never has any paying guests anyway, Mom says, following my gaze. I used to play there all the time. Do you want me to take you later? I think of the press of alien faces that would greet me if I showed up to the pool. The eager crush of questions about where I'm from and what Boston is like and when I'm starting school. I watch as the kids line up on one side of the pool for a race. Looks like fun. No, I say. Flowers line the outside of Mac's Hardware Store, and wind chimes hang above the door, clanging against each other in the breeze. 2 identical tabby cats lie side by side on the welcome mat, so anyone who wants to come into the store has to clamber over them. I follow Mom and Dad inside and trail behind them, stopping every once in a while so they can debate the pros and cons of organic glass cleaner and what the probability is that Grandpa Ike has a working lawnmower. The air in the shop hangs heavy and moist, and everything smells like earth, like we're standing in a giant coffin. My stomach begins to churn, and I suddenly feel a choking that makes me want to claw at my throat. Mom, can I wait outside? Mom fumbles with a screwdriver in her hand and clatters to the ground. She casts a bleak look in Dad's direction as she bends to pick it up. I don't know, Ethan, she says. I don't think it's a good idea for you to... I'll stay right outside, I say. I want to, pet the cats. Okay, so sometimes I lie too. Maybe your dad should come. I'll stay where you can see me through the windows. Promise. Where I can see you, she echoes, looking flustered as she reaches into the basket and pulls out the wood polish. Sorry. She echoes, looking flustered as she reaches into the basket and pulls out the wood polish Dad put in, scanning the shelves for a different kind. We won't be long. As I make a break for the exit, a dreadlocked woman behind the shop counter who is fanning herself with a square of sandpaper points to a colorful jar in front of her. "Taffy?" she asks. I shake my head and yank the door open, hurtle over the cats, and heave myself out into the seething heat, where I inhale deep gulps of salty air. It's hotter out here than it was in the shore, but at least a breeze rakes in from the ocean. I pull my sweatshirt up over my head and knuckle it into a ball. No one told me I would be so much hotter than in here. I looked over at my shoulder on a hunch and see Mom staring at me through the window. She waves at me before ducking behind a display of toilet cleaning supplies. I guess even here, a place with no buses and no trains, no way for me to get Casey. They're afraid I'll try to run again. I sit down on the edge of the hot curb and stare across the road at the murky bay, which as far as I can tell has no official name. The no-name bay has no beach either, just waves lapping against a ridge of rocks that separates the ocean from Main Street. A few boats bob on the lazy ocean swells. Maybe they think I'll steal one of those and try and sail back up the coast. And maybe the Ethan I was before that day Rhodey tackled me on the pavement would have. But I won't. My gaze wanders to the sand pit, the only building on the other side of the street. I know it's a grocery store, since Mom pointed it out on the way into town. But there are also hopeful advertisements in the windows for snorkel sets and shark tooth necklaces and a blow-up pool toys that line the sidewalk outside. A woman comes out and holds the door open for two little kids, a boy and a girl both licking ice cream cones. Suddenly, the girl trips on a crack in the sidewalk and her cone goes flying. The boy's quick to help, lifting her up and offering her his cone to stop her tears. She wipes her eyes and beams at him. Hurt boomerangs unexpectedly through me, and I look away. I'm not lying when I say Mom and Dad don't have to worry about me trying to run again. Back in Boston, I ran because I wanted to find Casey. If I could find her, then I could make everything okay again. But I know that I can't, because where Casey has gone, I'll never be able to find her. Suzanne. After what seems like a lifetime, Mom and Dad finally emerge from the store carrying about 20 bulging bags each. "Oh, Dave, we forgot something to get rid of that spider infestation," Mom says. "Could you—" "All right," Dad mutters, setting his bags down on the curb next to me and shuffling back into the store. Mom hovers over me and smooths my curly black mop of hair. "So what do you think of it so far? Is that Laura Pomeroy?" I look up to see a woman with platinum blonde hair and cut-off jeans and a tank top striding toward us. Her long legs, her shoulders, and her face are all burned pink, which makes her look kind of like a giant flamingo. "Greta? Greta Caraway?" Mom responds uncertainly. "You remember," the woman exclaims, throwing her arms around Mom. "Laura Pomeroy." I can't believe it. "It's Truett now," Mom says. "My husband is inside, and this is my son, Ethan." Mom gestures for me to stand up. "Ethan, this is Mrs. Caraway." "Oh, it's just Miss Caraway now," the woman drawls. "Mr. Caraway took the Greyhound to Orlando some years ago." She holds out a manicured hand. "It's a pleasure, doll. I went to high school with your mama, and my daughter Suzanne is." Miss Caraway casts a look over her shoulder. "Suzanne, stop gabbing on that phone and come say hello." A girl steps out from behind a parked car, her face half hidden by her phone. Her fingers were across its screen. "I don't know where her manners are," Miss Caraway says, making a clucking sound. "Suzanne, this is, Edwin?" "Ethan," Mom corrects tersely. It's weird to think that Mom is the same age as Miss Caraway. Her graying hair and the crinkling lines around her eye make Mom look older. Suzanne taps her phone one last time, probably hitting send before lowering it. My first thought is that she looks like a doll. She has neatly curled blonde hair surrounding her heart-shaped face and a smudge of blue over each eye. She wears a bikini top and white shorts, and there's a towel draped across her arm. "Hi," she says, looking me over. "Hi," I echo, flinching as I hear my voice crack. "What grade is Ethan in?" Ms. Caraway asks. "7th, Mom says. He'll be starting over at the middle school next Monday." Well, ain't that just something? Suzanne is in 7th grade, too. Miss Garraway titters, folding her arm around her daughter's shoulder. She can be Evan's friend on his first day. It's Ethan, Mom says again. Ethan, yes. So what brings you back, says Mrs. Garraway, tapping a pointed nail against her lip. You must have had an awful good reason to come back to this hole. My heart stumbles in my chest. I don't like the way Miss Garraway looks at Mom, like she knows she's hiding something. Mom makes the usual excuses. Dave and I, we both work from home anyway, and with Dad getting up here in age, we thought he could use some help. I bet. We hardly ever see him in town, not for years, not since, as Mom interrupts Ms. Garraway to continue her list of fake reasons. I turn my eyes back to Suzanne, who is studying me. Where'd you move from? She asks finally. Boston? Oh, that's really cool, she says, raising her eyebrows if impressed. I've always lived here. We almost never get new kids. What was your old school like? I say, boring. Suzanne rolls her eyes. Tell me about it. But I bet you were popular there, weren't you? I can always tell. I don't really know how to answer this, so I look down, but Suzanne's rhinestone flip-flops are glittering brightly in the sun. They make me wince. I squint back up at her and shrug, the only response I can muster. Don't worry, she says. I'll make sure you know who to hang out with. You can sit with me at lunch and I can show you off to everybody. The idea of Suzanne showing me off like a new doll at the show and tell me makes me want to wrinkle my nose, but I stop myself just in time. Okay, I say reluctantly. I was waiting for Dad to be done inside the hardware shop so we can go. It works. Suzanne is just opening her mouth to respond when I hear Mom say, Come on, Ethan, Dad's ready. Nice to meet you, Miss Garraway says, reaching out to shake Dad's hand, even though both hands are completely full. He gives her a tired smile and struggles to lift the bags out of his right hand. Suzanne and I are off to the pool. Y'all are welcome to join us. Thanks, Mom says, but we really have to be going. Later, says Suzanne, glossy lips smirking. Don't forget Monday. Yeah, I say, bye. It's not until they turn and are swaying off that I realize I'm shaking. Mom didn't remove her hand from my back the whole time we were talking. Now she is steering me toward the car. Suzanne seems nice, she says. You talked for a long time. Longer than I've talked to anyone since my age before the incident, she means. Yeah, I guess. Friend of yours, Dad asks. Mom? Horrible woman. Or at least she was in high school. She glances at me, but I'm sure her daughter's a lovely girl. She hands me a few bags to put her into the car. Things will be easier here for you, honey, she whispers. I nod back, but inside I wonder. That is all. Bookmark right there. Part 2 of the Ethan I Was Before.